Howie, this is a topic I've been meaning to talk about for a while because it's tremendously interesting and I think very important in many ways. And it ties in with ontology, this concept of dreaming of a reality or a future that never existed, and this kind of thing. And it's liminal spaces. Now, it seems to have been taken over the internet quite a lot in recent times, the whole concept of the liminal space. And yes, it's definitely a very real thing. How these kind of like post 1980s, 1970s uh, designs, architectural features, and places have a strange effect upon your consciousness. You almost feel like you're a ghost walking through these places. You almost feel like you're haunting them. And there's also an assumption that's grown up on particularly on YouTube, that this is a Generation I mean Generation Z, Generation X experience. I can tell you for a fact it's not. I experienced it. I would say I'm trying to think of the first time I ever genuinely experienced it, and it was definitely post 9/11, and it was in America. And I'll give you a few examples. I Anytime I'm over in the US and I go to any of the chain stores that belong to pharmacies like Walgreens and the other ones, the big chains they have over there, I have this strange sensation every time I'm in these pharmacies, these pharmacy chains you get all over the USA. I don't know what it is. It's just this the way they're designed is a kind of a sterilized thing, but there's also they have other things like novelties and cosmetics and a few other things. That was one. Another one was is the discount stores they have in America, like Dollar Tree. They have they give me a very strange sensation, and again they have a very similar kind of sterile layout about them. But it's more than just that. No, it's really hard to explain unless you've had these experiences. You can't really explain them. It's like think of a shopping mall that was built in the 70s and that was like empty, you know, and you're walking through it at night on your own or in daytime with all the lights on. And I think what happens is it's definitely related to magic in some sense, because we in magical theory, the concept of geometry and the geometry of a space, a ritual area, and you have this in churches, like the way they make the inside of the oak cathedrals look like the oak groves. The sense of space in these locations, this postmodern sort of like post 1960s look to them, when they're closed and they're not in use, there's this strange sensation comes into you. And there's lots of like kind of cultural examples I could give. The George Romero zombie film from the early 80s, Day of the Dead, one of them, it takes place in a shopping mall that's closed, and the zombies are trying to get into the shopping mall, but the survivors of the zombie outbreak are locked inside the shopping mall. And it has this movie would have been made at the time when shopping malls were at their height, and of course Romero was making a kind of an allegory or a metaphor about zombies and shopping and commercialism and retail and all this stuff, and the growth of American shopping mall. But you could feel it in that film, and you could see what it's like. Another one is, of course, The Shining with Stanley Kubrick. The whole look of the place, the scene where you know Jack Nicholson is in the bathroom, the red bathroom with Grady, the ghost or the demon of the boat, the demon consciousness of the hotel, and also the carpeting on the floor, that strange carpeting on the floor, the mixture of kind of like traditional Americana with this strange carpeting. When there's nobody around, this sense of liminal space becomes very profound, especially if there's no there's only modern architecture in there. And another one, there's other ones as well. I can remember when I worked in restaurants or hotels, or even now, if I'm doing a conference the night before, you might go into a ballroom in a hotel, and there might be one table or one chair inside an empty ballroom with the tablecloth still on it, just sitting there in an empty ballroom that hasn't been fixed. That's another one, another element you get of that sort of liminal space feeling. Now, I think it is connected to some kind of shifting perception and consciousness. And there's been, for example, you experience an uncanny valley type sensation when you're, say, you're walking into an old shopping center. It's the shops are all closed. You never go to these shopping malls or shopping centers or shopping precincts all over the place, and they may be going out of business, and maybe two shops are still open in it. And there's a very strange feeling when you're walking through them. Get to this one shop you have to go to, or whatever, because all the other places are closed up or shut down. And those kind of shopping centers are all over Ireland. They're in small towns, and they're mostly closed, and they're very strange late in the day or late in the evening. I think because of some of the designs, like you look at a shopping mall design, it might have like fluorescent or lighting or LED colored lighting in recesses pointing up. There'll be shapes like this. And the geometry, when you're standing on a balcony, maybe elevators going up and elevators going down, that you're in an unnatural space. Like it's like in the Dreams in the Witch House, the H.P. Lovecraft story, how he conjures up, other realities is because of the non-Euclidean geometry, meaning the strange geometry. Now, these places wouldn't have non-Euclidean geometry, but they have strange vanishing points and strange shapes and strange lightings, and there's no one around. And you're forced to feel like you're a wandering ghost in these places. And it's one of the, people say to me, how could I experience magic? That's actually one of the ways you can experience magic, is in these non-liminal spaces. It's the emptiness and the, coupled with the pointlessness of it. But at the same time, too, it's not pointless because it may have been once a busy shopping center, a busy hotel, or a busy factory or something, office buildings. You get it late at night. That you don't feel alone. You feel like you're there with yourself and another part of yourself. But it really did seem to begin after 9/11. I went through, I'm very sensitive to stuff like this, and I did explore this stuff even well before 9/11, going back to the 80s. Things like, psychogeometry, geography, going through certain areas and seeing how it affects. And it's a big Marxist kind of thing, but it's also can be used in a kind of an esoteric kind of way. And yeah, you'd have a place of a certain vibe, a certain energy. But that particularly sort of like ontological element of the liminal space, I have no memories of that occurring prior to 9/11. I just don't. Like when I went into shops all over America before 9/11, they just were just like shops in America. I can even remember when Walmart opened on Union Square in Manhattan when I was living there, and it was a big deal, the sort of like middle American store opening up in Manhattan as kind of like, like the suburbs coming to Manhattan. And I still didn't get that. And they built the inside just like a regular Kmart you'd get anywhere else in the US. And I didn't even feel it there. I didn't even feel that energy there. It wasn't until after 9/11 that I felt. So it's part of that kind of the 9/11 wave function expansion that I talk about. And it's almost like we who are kind of sensitive to these things have been elevated into a different sort of like psychological space where we're kind of caught between two worlds. The emerging world of the future, which is kind of like we don't know what it is. We're stuck in this nowhere land at the moment. Now I'm talking about when you enter these places, not in your regular life. And we come from a very rich past up until 9/11. So the liminal space thing is something I definitely think needs more exploration. The the way it ties in with vaporwave music and things like that, the and sort of like old-fashioned video games, like I often think that the ultimate liminal space would be an a shopping center that had lights flickering on and off, nothing in it, all the shops closed, and around the corner, the flickering light of a Space Invaders or Galaxy or Asteroids machine, arcade machine, blinking on and off, illuminating the back of the hall without you actually seeing it. That to me would be the kind of ultimate experience of it. There's someone playing the game, but you don't know who they are. You're hearing the noises of the Galaxy, Space Invaders, or Asteroid machine. Someone's put the coin in the slot at the end of the corridor. You don't actually see them, and you kind of don't want to see them. You don't need to see them. Who's playing them? Who's playing the machine? Is the machine playing itself, or am I back there playing the machine from when I was younger? It opens up so many fascinating thought patterns that like come into your head. It definitely appears to kind of like have an artistic element to it. It looks like a lot of like paint, sort of like if the regionalist painters of America of the 1930s, I'm talking about the Edward Hoppers and the Charles Birchfields, were around today, they'd be painting paintings of shopping malls with no one in them, or maybe a night watchman cleaning, or a night cleaner with a vacuum cleaner cleaning up. It's comforting as well. It's another weird thing about it. It's comforting, somehow knowing you're the only person in this place. There's something comforting, disjointed, disoriented, ghostly, uncanny valley about it. And another weird thing too, I do meet people in these places. I remember like going into basically a failed shopping centre across the river from Carrick-on-Shannon in County Leitrim, in that kind of town village that's across the river that they had all shopping centres in, the kind of retail park that used to be there. And there was a shopping centre there, and it was empty. One of these was never finished. It was empty, and it was just full of this liminal space feeling. And then this woman walked by me, and she must have been working in there, and her face didn't look right to me. There was an uncanny valley thing there going on as well. It's almost like when we enter into these spaces, we're actually going into a portal, into another reality, and rather than experiencing it through visual sensations exclusively, we feel it through a sort of like an energetic, psycho-emotional feeling. And it also makes me wonder if this is why our ancestors built stone circles and this kind of thing, is they were trying to get that kind of feeling too. Because it's the more the liminal spaces that works the strongest, the more it's detached from the natural order of things. So like a tacky 1970 or 1980s shopping centre with strange walls, up and down escalators and kind of like lights. That's what triggers the feeling. It's almost like, maybe the liminal space is, magic. How people who don't really do magic are actually experiencing like a kind of a passive magic. They're being forced, their nervous system is being compressed into a liminal space. Let me know if anyone's interested in this, and tell me what you think about it, because it's something I really want to get into and talk more about. Okay, I'll see you.